Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. This is a special edition of the Weekend Rotation. I know you guys love joining us here. This one here is for an SEC tourney preview. I'm going to be joined by some awesome guests today and some co-hosts. Looking forward to it. For those of you who just tuned into the ACC tournament preview show, this is SEC Hoover. We're talking SEC baseball, the 12 teams that are in it. Cannot wait to discuss it. Let's bring on those co-hosts here. So today I've got Monty, also known as Jake McKeever. He was just on the ACC podcast. If you were just watching that one, welcome in, Monty. How we doing today, buddy?
We're doing pretty well. Living the dream, ready to talk some SEC baseball, which I am very, very knowledgeable about.
I know you know all things college baseball. Well traveled. I love it. Man.
The producer changed my name.
Oh, he's back in. And Mitch, how we doing, man? I know you just did the ACC show. We're going to bring you in for a little bracketology, talking SEC ball. How we going, man?
So is Micah the ACC guy and Mitch the SEC guy? I'm just giving you a hard time.
That's how it goes.
It's okay. It happens sometimes. I'm called Mitch. It's my first time on the show. It's just rookie hazing, right? I'd rather do that than have to do like a naked mile or something. So
100%, it's rookie hazing. I
will take it. Don't be mad at me that the ACC has destroyed the Pac-12.
No, change your name.
And name's been changed to Mitch. I love it. Micah, of course.
Hi guys, I'm actually Mitch. I'm the SEC guy here. I know all things SEC. This is just a joke because it just means less. I thought this was the ACC show. I was camping out, getting really excited, and found out this is the SEC show. I'm in the wrong city, too, because I thought I was going to the SEC tournament, but I'm in Charlotte, so oops. I'm bad on that one.
I mean, Charlotte's kind of south.
But I am very excited to be here. Obviously, my role is going to be, a little bracketology stuff, so I'm excited to also talk to you guys about a lot of this because, the SEC is by far the most interesting part of bracketology because you just don't know what to do.
Yeah, we're very excited. I cannot wait. Time zones, an important thing to know. Yes. Thank you, Monty Taylor / Jake McKeever. We're in here. Alex, man, long time no see, buddy. So happy to have you back. And we're doing it for an SEC preview show, and you're in Hoover.
I'm here in Hoover. I'm excited to be back on the show. It's been a while. And I'm so pumped for this SEC tournament, man. It's going to be so much fun.
I literally cannot wait. It's just going to be so exciting. This is a weird year for SEC ball, right? Because the records are different. You throw them out there, a whole bunch of different ones. The top 4 seeds are all probably already national seeds, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. What really matters is these first-round games. This is going to mean some big things for some tournament teams. So let's get right into the first one. Let's bring up that bracket here. We got Georgia, who is 17-13 in conference, 39-14 overall, versus LSU, who's number 11 in conference, 13-17, 36-20 overall. They didn't play each other this year. So, Alex, I'm going to go to you first, being as the resident LSU guy. What does LSU have to do to win this game, and how big is this for LSU?
Well, this game is absolutely massive. LSU is very much on the bubble for if they're going to make the NCAA tournament. I have them kind of like 60-40 right now, going to make the tournament. But, you don't feel comfortable with those odds. So you got to win the game tomorrow. And I expect them to throw Gage Jump on short rest. So Gage Jump threw 84 pitches on Thursday night. So not a little bit lower than his normal pitch count. So I expect them to throw Gage Jump, especially when you consider, some of the other starters that are going this weekend. And I'm not sure who Georgia's going to counter with. I'm not sure. I think Georgia's pretty solidly. We'll talk about this more when we get to bracketology, but I think Georgia's pretty solidly a host right now. So,
yeah.
I don't know how much this game is going to mean to them, but obviously you got Charlie Condon, sitting in the other dugout, who's the SEC Player of the Year and is just a machine. So you don't know what you're going to get. That offense is potent. It's not just Charlie Condon. Obviously, Charlie Condon is the headliner, but Slade Alford, Colby Branch, all those guys, they can mash, and so it's a tough test for an LSU pitching staff that has pitched really well to close out the year. Jay Johnson's taller than Wes Johnson.
That's good. That's good, Jason. Listen, I could not be more excited for an opening round game. Like, this is our first game. We get Condon versus Tommy White. What an exciting way to open up this thing here. I expect Gage Jump to go as well, Alex. It's actually in my notes there is, can Gage Jump defeat Condon and Georgia Hot offense? It's an exciting way to start off the tournament, and I think it is important for both these teams, and we'll talk more about it in bracketology, but Georgia's still playing for a possible national seed. They're hosting definitely, but playing for a national seed. LSU playing for their tournament life. Monty, I know that this, it's a big opening round game, which you just don't get in pool play, but we're getting tournament play here.
Yeah. What are you talking about? You get big games either way, but I'm really excited about this one. 9:30 in the morning. That is something you don't get in the ACC because they don't play 4 games a day. They only get 3. So you get to wake up, and for you guys on the West Coast, it's a 6:30 game. Noah and Alex normally he's going to be on Eastern time now because he's in Hoover, but normally would be on Central time at 8:30.
Central time is Hoover, bud.
Still
Hoover's on Central time.
Alabama's
time zones are important.
Time zones are important.
I told you shouldn't have changed my name from Jake McKeever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be really exciting. I'm excited to tune in. I'm curious to see who Georgia pitches, but I do think they are going to be pushing to try and get some wins to try and get one of those top 8 national seeds. They got an RPI of 6 or something like that. So they want to kind of lock that in. They're very comfortable hosting-wise, I think. But I'm really excited to see if they counter. Do they go Leighton Finley, in the same amount of rest? I imagine he pitched on Thursday, but he would have to kind of match Gage Jump. So I'm really curious to see how LSU is going to shut down that potent Georgia offense led by Condon, but has a slew of guys, as Alex just mentioned. Didn't even mention Corey Collins, who's also a stud. So it's going to be really interesting to watch, and it's going to be some fireworks early, I think.
Fireworks early and often, man. I think that this one's going to be as good as those pitchers have been this year, as good as Gage Jump has been. I think that the bullpens are going to give up some runs. I think that this one's going to be hot. It's going to be hot in the morning there.
Kegs, eggs, and I can't think of a rhyme there. I had something. I lost it.
Eggs, and cags.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Micah, when you look at this one, Micah, what are you excited for? I mean, I know that we've been talking offense, we've been talking pitching, and this matchup, they haven't even played each other this year, and the first time they're going to play here is at Hoover.
So I was actually going to bring this up because I tell me if I'm wrong or not. This is Wes Johnson's first time against LSU, right? In general.
Yeah.
So that by itself is super intriguing to me because of when I was obviously all this was kind of happening when we in Omaha. There was some weird hostility kind of with what happened with that, him taking the Georgia job when he did and whatnot, and obviously the rumblings that were a part of that. So I'm intrigued about a lot of that. Plus, maybe I'm negative, right? The RPI is there for Georgia, but I'm not as sold that if they lose this game that they're even hosting. The SEC is only going to get 6 hosts, and Alabama's RPI is high enough if they go on a run, let's say, or not Florida, they're probably out, but Mississippi State's obviously right there. There's a world where Georgia doesn't host if they lose this game because they're one and done. It's the ACC guy here. That's the luxury, at least, of the weird pool play we do. Is at least you're guaranteed 2 RPI games. Where here you're one and done. So I still think they're going to be a seed, but crazier things have happened, right? On the flip side,
ways for them
the
to
Big
play 12
could steal and get 2. Oklahoma State, if they make a run in the Big 12 tournament, they're on the outside right now. They might be in. If Wake makes a run in the ACC tournament, they might be in. So, they're guaranteed more RPI opportunities than, say, Georgia is if they lose this game. So there's that intrigue, too, of, again, if they drop this one, now Georgia, again, should probably be a host. I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but it at least opens the door to a conversation.
It does, and we love the conversation. That's what we're here for, right? That's what this week is about, is really breaking down these teams for the last time before NCAA tournament play and getting to see them play really the best competition in the nation right there. And Georgia versus LSU to start this thing off, can't wait. Next game, number 7 Alabama, 13-17 in conference, another 13-17 team, 33-21. They're going up against South Carolina, 13-17 in conference, also 33-21. Alabama did take this season series 2-1. Alex, it's a very interesting one. We know that Alabama has a better RPI. South Carolina's kind of been scuffling and missing some pitching staff. Can South Carolina put it together at the right time and beat this very talented Alabama team?
I don't know. Like you said, they've South Carolina's been scuffling down the stretch. They have not looked especially good the last few weeks. And Alabama has been not hasn't been blowing any doors off anybody, but they've been solid. Greg Ferroni's going to be getting the start tomorrow after he threw over 100 pitches on Thursday. So, how long can he go? How much gas does he have in the tank? South Carolina is going to be, answering with Dylan Eskew, who pitched on Saturday. So, he's going on even shorter rest. So it's just, how do these bullpens hold up? How long do these starters go? But I think I trust the Alabama lineup a little bit more than I trust the South Carolina right now. South Carolina's lineup has not been good most of the year. And Alabama's lineup has been really good. I mean, Gage Miller is a beast, right there towards the top of that lineup. And then the freshman shortstop, his name escapes me for the moment, but he's been awesome to watch. So I think I like Alabama in this game.
Yeah, it's really tough for me because I was high on South Carolina all year, and then they've been on this just horrible stretch down the end here. And it's pitching, right? They're missing pitching. Monty, when you look at South Carolina, it's got to be frustrating as a Gamecocks fan looking at that going, man, we were right there. 2 weeks ago we were talking about hosting, and now we might be out.
Yeah, and that is difficult, but they do have that middle of the order punch with Ethan Petrie and my thick king, Cole Messina, who can still do damage and reset. It's a possibility for them to get in there. I think this is going to be coming down to a coin flip. They're both very evenly matched teams. I think there's going to be, just like the first game, I think there's going to be a lot of offense. But obviously, in terms of the starting pitching, Alex makes a great point. You got to lean Greg Ferrone. He's been really good for an Alabama staff that has had some issues. But I think the former Louisville Cardinal, by the way, it could be the difference there early. But I'm leaning towards South Carolina finding a way to get it right. But I really do think it can go either way based on how both teams have been playing down the stretch. Obviously, Alabama's played a little bit better recently than South Carolina, but it's never too late to right the ship until it's too late to right the ship.
Until you're out, right? So I think this one also, I'm with you, Monty. I think this one comes down to almost a haymaker fest, and I want to see who's going to throw the biggest punches. I think South Carolina has that ability to throw the most punches, and I don't know if Alabama can counter that. I really do like South Carolina here in this one. Micah, what are we looking at here when we look at this team? I know bracketology will get into those teams. They're both 13 and 17. This is an important matchup just in general, though, and Alabama did take the season series.
Yeah, I think what has me the most confused is I know weird things happen in rivalry series, but losing the series to Auburn this past weekend really changed a lot of my opinion on this Alabama team.
Yeah,
I kind of had them as like a lock two. Don't even need to worry about what happens in Hoover kind of thing. Now, again, they're not going to miss the tournament, I don't think. But I mean, that'd be a really, really interesting scenario of why the committee would want to leave them out. But at the same time, like, they're kind of flirting with disaster. They won one series away from home all year, and that was at Ole Miss, which, again, say what you want about Ole Miss. But, I'm intrigued about South Carolina. So those of you that don't know, again, I work the Southern Conference baseball tournament every year as well. And Kennedy Jones, former UNCG Spartan, is a dog in conference tournaments. I know it was the SoCon, but he's a dog in conference tournament play. So I'm intrigued to see if he can kind of replicate what he did in Greenville, South Carolina every year here in this one. I mean, I got to watch South Carolina run rule ETSU in the midweek. So my opinion on South Carolina is they're the greatest team in the country just to make myself feel better. But, this is kind of a do or die kind of situation in terms of, kind of your rep. Because what's going to happen is, like, if South Carolina loses this game, they're probably getting sent to Clemson or, a North Carolina, which, I know South Carolina won that midweek game in Charlotte against North Carolina, but I don't think you really want to go into that into a regional play. So you would rather get, either a favorable 2 or, again, a favorable 3 or that 2 spot, where you clearly are the better team. But I mean, this is the game personally I'm most excited for, just because there are so many questions I have. Like both these teams, for the longest time, I thought nothing about like, oh, they're good at baseball, and that was about as far as I would go. And wherever their RPI lied, that's where they kind of fell in the bracket. Where now I'm starting to question like, how good are these teams? And one of them's going to be done. So
somebody's not going to make it.
Clemson.
One of these 5 teams I don't believe is going to make it. We'll get into that when we get into the bracketology segment. Let's move on to another matchup of 13 and 17 teams. Number 8 Vandy and number 9 Florida, both 13 and 17. Vandy is 35 and 20 overall. Florida an abysmal 28 and 26 overall. And this was one of the series where Vandy was healthy. They won that series 2-1. Florida was still scuffling really, really bad. Florida's getting hot, Alex, I know. Vandy's going the other direction. This feels like it's kind of set up for Florida.
It really does. Florida's coming off of that big series win against Georgia, to stay above 500 even be, to be eligible to even be considered for the NCAA tournament. But they're 2 games above 500 now, so it might almost be better for Florida's chances to make the tournament if they lose. But they'll still stay above 500. But even if they win, they still, even if they lose the next 2, they'll still stay above 500.
Yeah.
But I really do think it's set up for Florida to win. I don't know who Florida's got on the mound tomorrow, but Jack Caglione is Jack Caglione. Colby Shelton is a dog. And like you said, Vanderbilt's just kind of trending in the wrong direction. Florida is starting to kind of trend in the right direction. So that's kind of my feeling on that as well.
Now, here's my thing. Vanderbilt has the pitching, right? So if they do get right, it's because of the pitching, and that would be have to be shutting down this Florida team. Not an easy task, but Monty, Vanderbilt has pitching. Florida has a missing gap there, and this is a first, a little short weekend here for these guys. How does this game match out?
Vanderbilt's just spiraling right now. I don't necessarily trust them to get it right, which I know sounds weird after I just picked South Carolina and they're kind of spiraling, but I don't think they're spiraling to the extent Vanderbilt is. And Florida's offense can just light you up. Yes, Florida's pitching is not great. Outside of Cags, who's obviously got some elite stuff, but yeah, it's again. I think there's going to be more fireworks again. I don't think there's going to be much pitching on day one in the SEC outside of maybe Mississippi State, depending on who they go. So I expect a lot of high scoring, a lot of long games, to be honest, as teams try to work through some of the bullpen stuff because you've got guys going on short rest. It's going to be really interesting, but I think Florida just has things going right now, and Vanderbilt has been spiraling for like a month now. So it's hard to think they're going to right the ship at this point, whereas South Carolina, I talked about just a second ago, they've only been spiraling for about 2 weeks. So I think it's more likely one team to right the ship than the other. One's become a trend. The other one could just be a little slump.
Yeah, there was a time we were looking at Vandy at 12-9 and going, okay, they're setting themselves up to host. They're putting themselves down the stretch here. And then they go 1-8 and just an abysmal 1-8 too after sitting at 12-9 and battling to get to 12-9. That was not easy fought to get to 12-9 and just falling apart completely. Micah, I know that we're going to talk about these guys in bracketology, but I want you to break this game down individually here. Florida's offense versus Vandy pitching. Who do you think comes out?
I think it's Florida's offense that'll come out on top. I have more faith in them on a consistent basis. I'm really mad I let the real Jake McKeever, not the one that's on this screen, convince me that Vanderbilt was good. I was so negative on Vandy at the beginning of the year. I know obviously some of it's injury, right? Like I'm not trying to just say that Vandy's a bad baseball team. They've had some, injuries, but every team in college baseball experiences that, and they've just not handled it at the same level as some of these teams do, right? And it's frustrating because I originally had a bracket that I way back in March that I almost released that didn't have Vandy in it, and Jake lost his mind on me as if I was the craziest person in the world. And here we are. I mean, we'll get to bracketology in a minute, but this game is the circle game for bracketology. I don't want to spoil anything, but loser of this team is going to be sweating.
They're going to be
As
hot seat.
As the fake Jake McKeever, I just want to say Brody Donay. That's it.
Brody Donay.
Because
That's
because
very
that's
Jake
Jake's.
McKeever-esque.
Yeah.
Next, the last matchup here. Mississippi State, 17-13, 36-19 overall. Huge surprise. Big ups to Mississippi State. I don't think a lot of people had them picked to do this well in conference this year and this well overall. What a tremendous effort by their pitching staff. That's been what's really led this team. They're going rivalry hunting. Number 12, Ole Miss, 11-19 in conference play, 27-28. Ole Miss would have to go on some kind of run to make the tournament. Now, they'd probably have to win the SEC tournament, but they did beat Mississippi State in conference play 2-1. Alex, I know that Mississippi State's pitching and they're trending the right way. They seem to be playing the best baseball at this point in the season, but you can never count out a rivalry.
This is the biggest mismatch of the first day. You know, Ole Miss is coming off getting swept by LSU, and you know they really looked kind of dejected. You know, in that Saturday game. You know, they know their season is basically over at this point. You know, we'll see if Coach Bianco can fire them up and say, look, you know, give them the win one for the Gipper, and you know, it's baseball and weird things happen. You know, but I just don't see Ole Miss winning this game. I think Mississippi State is just going to overpower them. They're you know, State's kind of got goo eyes for a host spot, and they know this win's going to help them out with that. So, yeah, I just don't see Ole Miss winning this game.
I think this goes a lot further for Mississippi State than Ole Miss, and I'm big on Mississippi State this weekend just because I think that they realize what they're playing for. They're playing for that chance to host. They're playing for that chance at a national seed. Monty, it's all pitching for Mississippi State versus the hitting of Ole Miss, and Ole Miss hitting did not show up last weekend.
Yeah, and is Cole Steven probably going to be the starter? I would imagine.
I think he's slated to start for Mississippi State just to get that win.
Yeah, and that makes it easy for me. I think Mississippi State's going to take care of business. Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines in that offense, they're going to light up. And I think it's going to be Mississippi State, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. But, you know, stranger things have happened. As you guys said, during the regular season, Ole Miss did take 2 of 3, but this is tournament time, and it's a different beast.
Yep, it is. It's a different beast, and I think Cal Stevens is the answer. He was one of my guys I highlighted saying, this guy's a difference maker in this tournament, and if he pitches on Tuesday, that means that Mississippi State advances. Micah, who are you liking in this Mississippi State Ole Miss game?
I am a huge fan of this Mississippi State team. Call it some bias. I attended only like 3 SEC games all year, and the most memorable one for me was watching Mississippi State run rule Florida in Gainesville. I was fortunate enough to be in Gainesville for that one. And, you know, again, that's a 1-game sample size. But since then, I've kind of started to follow what Mississippi State's been doing, selfishly because I really want to go to the Dude at some point. I went on all those ACC ballparks, and I was like, I wish Mississippi State was an ACC team. But, you know, I'm also, like you said, like, can he rally the troops, right? Like, because Ole Miss, I mean, I know, like, right now there's no shot that they're in, but they can go on a run. The RPI is there. I mean, they're not completely out of the realm at this point. I mean, again, you need a lot of help, but crazier things have happened in college baseball, right?
It's there, but I think we're all going Mississippi State here. I think that's what it comes down to. Mississippi State is probably the vote of choice here. The other ones are really too close to call at this point. I think there's just too much good teams here in the SEC, and it's going to be great that first day in Hoover. I know Alex can't wait. He's going to be there, 16 hours of baseball for you, buddy?
Yeah, you know, weather permitting, you know, maybe it could be more.
Could be 20.
We'll see.
Could be 20.
Yeah.
Hey, I want you to tell me a player now that you want everybody to keep their eye on this Tuesday matchups. Just pick one. Be quick about it. I just want to know one guy that you want everybody to keep an eye out for.
I think for me, it's got to be Gage Jump. You know, assuming he gets the start. You know, I think that's got to be, you know, that's going to be the key to LSU. You know, possibly going on a run here in Hoover is getting that good start from Gage Jump, getting 6 innings from him. And the last month of the season, he's been lights out. He's been an ace, and, you know, can he be that again?
He's got to. He's got to be that guy for them. Monty, give me one player you want to watch.
There's so many options, but I've got to go with Condon. I have
Yep.
to. I mean, it's just
That's
too easy. I feel like if I don't go him, I think we'll just overlook him somehow. But obviously, as Alex just said, what Gage Jump has done, it's going to be on Condon and that Georgia offense to try and disrupt that, and that's going to be a key situation. And you're going to look for your offensive leader, your star, to show up in a big game, and that's what stars do. So let's see if Condon can do that. Who's going to win the battle? And ultimately, it may not come down to Gage Jump versus Charlie Condon. It may come down to the bullpen versus Charlie Condon. But either way, you got to circle the SEC Player of the Year.
Absolutely. I love that. Micah, who are you going with? Who do you want to see on Tuesday?
I'm going with the guy on the other side or the other dugout that's gonna, who's probably used to his name being the one talked about in everyone's lineup, but it's Tommy White. White. Every Georgia game I watch, and rightfully so, right? I mean, what we're seeing from Charlie Condon is just incredible. But you're gonna probably hear Charlie Condon. It's like Tommy White still exists. Like, I still have ingrained in my memory sitting next to Cam Manasseh's family when he gives up a walk-off home run to Tommy White in Omaha against Wake Forest. So I would love. This is that matchup alone. I know it's not Louder and Skeens, but it's a pretty similar offensive version, and it's going to be fun to watch.
And it's 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we can watch it together on our way over to a real college baseball game, Louisville, Miami.
Yeah, that's prime time.
Yeah, I love it. Here's my thing. My thought process here is, I want to see Hunter Hines do.
Oh no!
We lost.
Oh no!
Did we lose Mark?
Moment of silence. He got frozen the same way.
I want to see Hunter Hines do.
Are we having some technical difficulties here?
There, you're back.
Is it me that's been cutting out this whole time? I just kept seeing blank faces. Cool. Well, did you guys hear me pick Hunter Hines? Because that was my first thing.
But we didn't hear it reasoning.
We got
We just heard Hunter Hines.
Hunter Hines. No, I like Hunter Hines in this one. It's a rivalry series. It's a time for him to get going and really show what he could be. I did pick him as my SEC Player of the Year in our preview because I thought that he could be that guy. And I do believe that he can be that guy still. He has some big moments. This is the time, right? Step up, get your team into hosting. I love it. Hunter Hines is my guy. The extra first base thing, guys. I know it's kind of made a little bit of noise. It needs to make a little bit more noise. It's a weird thing that they're throwing in right now at the conference tournament. I don't love that they're doing it for the conference tournament. For those who don't know, they're putting a safety bag outside of first base that all the runners going down to first base from home to first must run to. It cannot be used defensively. The defender cannot use that bag at all. It's only for the runner going from home to first base. Alex, what do we think about it? I know it's a weird timing, but what do we think about it overall?
I mean, yeah, the timing of it just kind of blows me away. I know they've used it in some like midweek games around the SEC, in different spots, but I mean, to just like drop the bomb the day before the tournament, like, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to be doing this thing. It's kind of, I don't like that. And I know it's safety and I know it's to fix, what's considered probably one of the worst rules in college baseball, but I don't know. I don't. If you're going to fix the rule, then fix the rule. Don't just add another base.
Yeah. I mean, I get the thought process, right? They're trying to make that runner's rule. They're trying to make those guys get in that lane. They're going to have to eventually write that in that they have to be on the right side of that line when they're running down first base. And if they're anywhere else and they make it interfere with the ball, it's going to be instant. It's going to be an instant out, right? They're going to have to make that rule. That's what they're going to have to do. That's what this is trying to cause. So Monty's going to have something to say. He is not happy about what I'm saying right now. Monty, go ahead.
As a Nationals fan, I hate this rule. Okay? Trey Turner, 2019 World Series. I hate the interference rule. It always rewards a bad play. But I'm with Alex. I don't agree that the base. I mean, just get rid of the rule. It's dumb unless they're way outside of the freaking thing. No one's trying to interfere with the ball. They just happen to get hit in the back or something or cause something, but it's always rewarding a bad throw.
I mean, it is. It is.
And our manager, the Nationals manager, got ejected for arguing that. And I don't like it. But ultimately, whatever. It's also going to be
Ron Washington.
It's going to be a really hard adjustment for the players.
It is. It's going to be, and it's going to. I mean, throwing it in at this point seems ridiculous to me. Micah, I know that we talked about this a little bit in our pre-show. Let me have your thoughts on this. I know that we brought it up. I think it's ridiculous to throw it in at this point in the season.
Two things is going to happen this weekend in the SEC. One of two is going to happen. You're going to spend 10 minutes reviewing what part of the bag is the defender stepping on, which is going to drive everyone nuts because we really want more replays in college baseball. That's what we want to. We have all this pitch clock and all this stuff to speed the game up, and nothing speeds the game up more than did he touch the green part of the bag or the white part of the bag?
First, they're going to talk about it, and then they're going to review it.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have him huddle for 2 minutes. Oh, I saw green, but was it at the grass green or was it the bag green? So that's going to be one. Or what's going to happen, because it's a natural thing, right? I mean, again, I'm not going to tell you I play college baseball, but even when I play pickup, right, like you feel for the bag. What if you accidentally overstep the bag and you're on the green and you don't even realize it's a routine play, and you step on the wrong side of the bag? Is the umpire going to – I mean, they should, right, enforce the rule as it's dictated. He stepped on the green part of the bag, which a routine ground out that ends an inning might score a run because the run comes across because he accidentally steps on the green. And can you blame him if he's only had 2 days to prep for this?
I think, let's do it.
I think it's bigger for the runners than the defenders, but it's a safety thing. I understand what they're trying to do.
I love it for the future of the sport. Fine. I really don't have that. Like, I'm not you can't do it ever. But did I interrupt Micah? Yeah, love that, Nick. Thank you. I miss you, Nick.
You just talked to him.
But for those of you who don't know, I interrupt Nick on our podcast all the time. So he's had to do that. But, I have no problem with it moving forward. Like, I think again, I'm fine with it. But to introduce it now. And, are we going to use it in the postseason in the NCAA tournament? Like, is this like a hint at something? Because if so, then
if they're putting it in their biggest tournament, and they might be trying to push it out everywhere, and I don't love that idea. I do know that SEC tries to step up and do things first, but I don't love it doing it right here at this time. I would have been fine if somebody wanted to do it in all their non-conference games or something and try it out this year. They did it in a few, right? Throwing it in at tournament time when this matters for a lot of teams, it seems a little weird. It seems like this is forced by somebody outside of what SEC is trying to do. But I'm just a truther here. All right, let's break down the brackets. Okay, there are 5 13-17 teams, right? So we've got Alabama, we have Vanderbilt, we have Florida, South Carolina, and LSU. Which of these 13 and 17 teams needs a win to feel more safe on Selection Monday there, Micah?
The answer's got to be Florida, right?
I think you said all of them.
All of them, right? Yeah,
I mean, all of them would love to
win,
but it's not possible because two of them face each other.
Yeah, right. I mean, with the overall record you have for Florida, like you mentioned, like being one game above 500, that's enough of an argument for me to say you don't deserve it, regardless of what your RPI says. Like, again, you have to give credit to this team where credit is due, but I don't know. I think you can sit in that kind of conversation and have that argument. I think, too, I mean, I really, just be frank, I think whoever loses the Vanderbilt-Florida game is out.
Yeah.
I mean, because Vanderbilt's trending in the wrong direction. We've seen a history of the committee across all sports, right? I know this is a baseball conversation, but we saw it with football. Punish Florida State for all the injuries that they had. The way Vandy's been trending and how they look right now with what the lineup they're presenting to, the field and the committee in the current state has a reason that if they're one and done in the SEC tournament, the way they've been trending, they're probably done, and their RPI is starting to kind of float in that 20 to 30 range that, I mean, again, is better than some of these teams that are going to get in with RPIs of 50. But when you talk about, again, the depth of it all, I think South Carolina has a little bit to worry about. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all these teams, if you want to, like LSU, right? I mean, I think LSU personally is a lock. I really think this team is good enough, and I don't think losing to Georgia should be held against them because Georgia, if they win, is sitting pretty to probably be a national seed, right? But
if you don't
there
want
definitely
it to happen,
is,
don't put yourself in a position to lose. Don't put yourself in a position where
Exactly.
if you lose, you're out. I mean, they put themselves
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, there's, again, like all these teams are in kind of desperation mode. But if I had to guess, do you want me to rank the 5 from least concerned about if they lose?
I think you nailed it. You got it.
I mean,
You're saying whoever loses the Vandy Florida series is the most dangerous team. They're the team that's in the most trouble if they lose. Whoever loses that one.
I think if they lose, you don't even have to put them on the bubble. I mean, you put them on the bubble. I don't think there's any world where you put them in because there's going to be
they put all 5 in. Do they put all 5? So you think the committee's going to leave one of these 5 teams out for sure, and you believe it's going to be the loser of that Vandy Florida series?
I do because I'm willing to bet there's going to be at least 2 bid thieves.
Yeah,
and
I don't think the 11 teams.
The SEC's been the best conference in college baseball. As ACC guy saying that, I'm willing to admit that, but they're not going to put 11 or 12 SEC. I mean, obviously 12 if you factor in Ole Miss, but I'm not factoring them. I think the SEC's cap is 10. The ACC cap is 9. The SEC cap is 10 for how many teams they're going to get in. So one of these teams is going to have to go.
When we look at all these teams here, the national seeds, we know that 1 through 4 almost all lock, right? They're all going to be locks. Even if they go 2 and Q here, I think that we all can agree they're probably national seed locks with the way they played this season. Mm-hmm. Does number 5, Mississippi State, and number 6, Georgia, have a chance at doing a national seed? And what do they need to do that? I know they need to win this first round game. Let's talk about beyond that first round game. So Georgia's got to beat LSU. Mississippi State's got to beat Ole Miss. What do they have to do in the double elimination bracket?
So I looked this up, and again, this is going back about 7 or 8 years. No team with an RPI higher than 21 is ever hosted in general.
Correct.
So at this point, with Mississippi State at an RPI of 22, that's why they're not hosting. Mississippi State fans, if you saw the bracket that we put out, a lot of you were mad at me, and I kind of understand because I personally would rather have the dude host a regional than Wake. But Wake's RPI is 10, your RPI is 22. There's 2 historical numbers that would have to magically go away, which is no team in the top 10 of RPI has ever not hosted. So, yeah. So that's always something to factor in. But I think the Mississippi State, I tried to do the math, but it's so hard with this tournament, right, to figure out how many RPI points they're going to jump because you don't even know who they're going to play. But it seemed like the max number Mississippi State can jump is about 8, which I don't think would be enough to get them a national seed. So I think that they really don't have a chance, in my opinion. But again, crazier things have happened. But I think at that point that you probably entered a world where if Oregon State wins the Pac-12, they're probably going to get a national seed. ECU, if they run the table in the AAC, their RPI will probably move a little bit up, which might be enough for them to go, yeah, let's give them that national seed. Same thing with the ACC side. Again, I have NC State as a national seed in our bracket because I have them winning the ACC tournament. They do their thing. I know, Monty, you're a big Duke guy. We get it. Yeah. But again, if Duke starts entering the chat too and wins the ACC, they might have a conversation because their RPI is right there with Mississippi State and actually just a little bit better. So,
yeah,
there's a lot to go with that. From the Georgia side, I think Georgia, I didn't put them as a national seed. I debated if the committee has made it very clear they don't want to just stack based off RPI because then it just kind of becomes. It'd be the SEC tournament, like the 6th seed in the SEC tournament would be the 6th seed in the national seeds, and it's like, okay, what is not the point of this? But there's got to be some way to being the tops of your conference and things of that nature. But I think if Georgia makes a run, right? If they get to the semifinals of this, I think they should be a national seed. And I know it's not fair to factor in the eyeballs that come to this, but you can't tell me you don't want to see Charlie Condon hitting his home ballpark. I know I do. I don't want to see which ACC team gets stuck going there.
Yeah, I don't want to see a Pac-12 team having to go play there, but absolutely.
Yeah, but I want to see it. So, I think there's a better chance for Georgia than Mississippi State from a national seed standpoint. And I think, again, I think Georgia would have to just lose to LSU to even potentially not even host. And even then, I still think that there needs to be some respect to the SEC to where they should be. There's going to be 5 teams, like I said, and we've got 4 locked up, those 4 buys. Now it's a matter of, is it Mississippi State or is it Georgia, I think, for that 5th one for sure. And then again, there could be a 6th.
Yeah. Alex, I want to hear your thought on this because I know that you've been following this SEC tight all year. As far as a national seed, we know there's probably 4, right? Do they deserve a 5th? And which one of these 2 teams do you think has it?
Yeah, I think they do. And I think Mike is right. I think it's Georgia. I think Georgia's resume is deserving of, a top 8 national seed. And I think that they've, what they've done over the last, couple month and a half, 2 months of the season has been, it's just extremely impressive. They weren't, not much was expected of this team coming into the year. Nobody knew what to make of them. I mean, obviously they knew, like, Charlie Condon was good last year, obviously. And so you knew you're going to have something there with him. And he certainly hasn't disappointed. But you didn't, Wes Johnson, his first year, didn't know what to expect of Georgia, and they've been awesome. And I think they absolutely deserve that fifth SEC top 8 seed.
I think it's going to be tight because there's going to be some teams like ECU, Oregon State, and at least one ACC team, whether that's Clemson or Duke or even a Wake Forest if they go on some kind of run here. Monty, how do you think that they deserve a fifth team in, and do you think it's either one of these guys?
Yes, they deserve it. But I don't. It's tough. But Georgia, I think, would be my pick. I know they're very close. But again, it is interesting because you do have them, like Micah said, the 6th seed being a top 6 seed or a top 8 seed. It's interesting. But I mean, the SEC is still the class of the sport. I think the ACC has closed the gap, but the ACC doesn't have the same top-heavy group that the SEC has, as we've recently found out with some of Clemson's struggles. So, if any conference deserves a 5th national seed, it would be the SEC. Doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen, but
I will say I think it's bad for the sport if the SEC does get 5 of the 8 national.
It's bad. It's bad to me. That no longer feels regional, right? Like that feels like we're just going to take the SEC and the ACC and we're going to make them the best teams, and then
especially if you've given credit to what the ACC has done. I know the Big 12's down. Like I'll be the first one to admit, I'm going to be trying to do brackets pretty much every day, and it won't be the cool graphic format that I've been doing, but at least like putting out kind of some updates as they go along. Like, I think that you have to start looking at Oklahoma as a national seed if they do what they can do in the Big 12. Because, again, there's got to be credit to winning your conference. Like Oregon State's the same thing. Like if Oregon State, Mark, would have won the regular season title, which, by the way, I have Fubo TV just so I could watch Pac-12 baseball. So my Fubo cancellation will be coming very soon. Just so you know. But, if they would have been able to hold on to win that game in Tucson, I would have had them as a national seed. Because I think that there needs to be value to this. Like, I wish Santa Barbara's RPI was kind of at the Indiana State level. That way we could give a national seed out to California. Because the sport needs that. I mean, there's part of me that wants to make Indiana State a national seed, and they're playing in a pretty low-level conference.
Is this show about the SEC or about why the SEC shouldn't have 5?
So I'm gonna steer the ship back here, guys. Alex, how many teams in the SEC will host a regional? How many teams will host? Now, we know it's probably at least 6. Mississippi State's right on that borderline to get that 6th in there. Do any of these 13 and 17 teams host, or is it just 6 out of the 16?
I think you're going to get 6. I don't think any of the 13 and 17 teams are going to host. I don't think they should host. If you have a sub 500 record in conference, I don't think you should host.
No,
but I think that Mississippi State and Georgia, obviously, I think they're going to be hosts. I think we'll get 6 hosts.
Yeah, I think for sure Mississippi State and Georgia win this weekend. If they win today or tomorrow, they're in, right? I think that they're definitely hosts. I think it's 6. Monty, how many do you have?
6.
6. Mike, are you in the same boat? You're not. You got 5. You think that one
Mississippi State's not hosting unless they do a little bit of work. Their RPI is too high. At the end of the day, like the trend, like right now, again, based off trends, NC State has done a lot to justify being a host now. Virginia has a much higher RPI. They're 10 spots above Mississippi State right now, and they're in a pool that their RPI will not go down unless they lose by 4 runs or more in both of their games, which is Georgia Tech and Florida State. So their RPI is not going anywhere. So, and they're a team that went to Omaha last year, and we've seen the committee kind of value what have you done over the last few years. So they have a lot of respect for what Brian O'Connor has done at UVA. So I think they're probably a host. Wake Forest, as much as I would like to say that if you ask me right now, pick a series, neutral site, Mississippi State, Wake Forest, I'm picking Mississippi State. But the RPI of Wake Forest is top 10. And like I said, no team in the top 10 has ever got left out. And they have to play UNC, which will be an RPI boost. So as long as they don't lose to Pitt, which Spoiler alert, I do actually have them losing to Pitt. But, if they take care of business against Pitt, their RPI is not going to go anywhere. So I think that there's either going to be 6 ACC or Oklahoma State's right there. Or Oklahoma State's RPI is 16. There's a chance that they get in. So I just I'm a little hesitant on the whole. I want a regional at the Dude. I really do. I think that's one of the best environments in college baseball, if not the best environment in college baseball. But I just think that RPI is just too high, and Ole Miss is not going to do a lot for them just winning that game. So then you've got to win some other games. And again, as much as I want to, everyone thinks that I love the RPI. I'm not a fan of the RPI. I'm just going off of what the committee has always done and how much they've justified the RPI.
Yeah, they do. They use it as a crutch sometimes when they want to keep a team out, and they use it as a booster when they want to put a team in. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Mississippi State. Again, Mississippi State, if you take care of business, you win a couple games, you win 2-3 games here in the tournament, no question, you host then. But you got to do something. Just winning the one game against Ole Miss. If you lose, you may not host at all. You may have no chance. The top 4 seeds, we all agree, national hosts. If one of those 4 teams wins this tournament, are they the number 1 seed, Alex?
Yes. I mean, full stop. If they win the SEC tournament, it's one of the 14. I mean, and no team has won the SEC tournament since they've been in this format. No team has won the SEC tournament that hasn't been one of the top 4 seeds.
Correct.
So
they
one of these teams is going to be the number 1 seed. I don't know. Maybe this is a spoiler, but I think Kentucky's going to win the tournament, and I think they'll be the number 1 seed.
All right. I like where you're at. Go Pitt. Why don't you tell me where you think this is going to happen? Do you think if the team wins this tournament that they are the number 1 team?
You ask me?
Yeah.
Go
Go
Pitt.
Pitt now.
Yeah, I am Go Pitt. No, I forgot his name. No, it's as simple as Alex said. Yes, and with the ways, I mean, UNC might be the only one that could, if they won their tournament, that might be out there from another conference. But it's going to be whoever wins the SEC tournament. If it's one of those 4 teams, they're going to get the boost to be the number 1 seed. I don't see UNC making that big of a jump ahead of a team, one of these 4 teams that would win the tournament. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Micah, do you think that the number 1 team would be the number 1 seed if they win this thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's too close for margin. I mean, I think I didn't realize that I became Kentucky's biggest rival, but Kentucky fans do not like me or Jake, but they definitely don't like me.
Is it because of the Louvre?
It's probably because I'm a Louisville guy, honestly, because I rep Louisville so much. But no, I mean, those teams are just so close. I mean, at the end of the day, all 4 of those teams are, they're the best teams in baseball. I mean, they're, as much as it pains me living in East Tennessee and not being a Tennessee fan, to have to hear about all the Tony V propaganda, they are fun to watch. They just are.
It's not fun to watch. He's that great.
They're fun to watch. They're annoying. I'm tired of hearing Rocky Top, but they're monster day. I'm not going to say. But at the end of the day, right? Absolutely. Again, I don't even think. I mean, I know you said North Carolina could enter the chat. Unless North Carolina run rules their way through the ACC tournament, I don't think there should be. I mean, I think at the end of the day, if North Carolina gets to the championship game, that's what I predict to have happen. I think they'll probably be the 3 seed. They'll probably take the 2 SEC championship teams, make them 1-2, and then 4-5 will be kind of stacked behind them. That's how I had it play out in my bracket with Tennessee and A&M being the 1-2, and then Arkansas and Kentucky being 4-5. But I would hear out any of those 4 teams. I don't think any of them should be outside the top 6, regardless of what happens here. I mean, they're just, and I can't believe Monty went all the way through the song.
That's what I said. if any of these teams go 2-Q, right, they lose in their double elimination, they go both. They're still going to be a national seed. I don't see any of them drop them out. This doesn't hurt them enough to kill them. Who surprises us and makes a run? What team surprises us and makes this run and does something historic, Alex?
Maybe you're gonna call me a homer, but I think it's LSU.
Yeah,
I think their pitching is what I think is going to carry because their pitching has been so much improved over the last month of the season. When you talk about the gauge jump and what Luke Holman has done. But the biggest story and the biggest reason why LSU has been on their run and has been playing better is Christian Little.
Christian Little.
Christian Little. I'm
He's
telling you,
still there.
like he's still there, and I'm telling you, the last month of the season, he has been his emergence over the last month of the season as a key back end of the bullpen contributor has been the biggest reason why they were able to go 10-5 over the last half of their SEC schedule.
Yeah. Fair enough. I can buy it. I can see a path. I can see the road. I can also see them losing to Georgia game 1 and being out of the tournament. But I can see them making that kind of run, especially if Gage Jump gets off to that hot start against Georgia. Monty, who's the team that surprises you?
I think it's going to be Mississippi State making a run.
I like
think
it.
they're going to make a run. I think they're going to host. I think they're going to prove Micah wrong. They're going to take his words personally today. And Micah has that kind of power. I don't know if you guys knew that, but teams take what he says personally, and they come up big. So I'm going Mississippi State. I think the firepower they've got with Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines, and then the pitching they've gotten from Cole Stephen, I'm all on the Mississippi bandwagon. I think they beat Ole Miss, and then they start making some noise against some of the bigger teams, and they earn that hosting spot.
Here's the thing. Cal Stevens could get that win on Tuesday and then get that win on Saturday. That would be just filthy. I would be all for that life. Micah, who makes a run?
So LSU was my answer, but I'm going to give a different answer. That way we don't have, just repeat answers here. I'm going to go Florida.
Florida. Yeah, I like it.
I like this team. I mean, again, they maybe I'm just cheating, right? I'm picking the two teams that played in the national title last year. But we know these teams are capable of going on runs. I mean, it's kind of crazy here, right? We got coaches that kind of know how to coach up their ball clubs in postseason play. But I do really like I think Vandy's faltering. You get a little bit of confidence there. You get that win. They beat Tennessee once. I mean, they can probably do it again. I mean, I like what this Florida team brings. I really do think Cags is going to – he's been a little shaky on the mound as of late. I think he might – I'm hoping he kind of refines his stride a little bit. So, yeah, I'm going to go Florida since LSU was off the board.
I'd like to change my answer to the Cox.
I'm hoping that it's the Gamecocks. I just don't see it right now with their pitching issues. That's my same question mark with Florida is those pitching issues, right? They haven't been able to find a way to get 27 outs. They've been outscoring teams to get on this run here lately. It's LSU. I mean, I hate to say it. I did 3 weeks ago. I said LSU has a better chance of making a super regional than they do being knocked out of this tournament. And it's LSU's pitching staff when it comes down to it. Who flops?
I'm just glad I know SEC ball better than Jake because I told him that Vandy was overrated. I got LSU as a lock all year, and he told me I was crazy for that. So I'm just saying, Jake, if you're listening, I think I might know SEC ball better than you.
Who flops and backs into this tournament real quickly? Alex, pick a team.
Who flops?
Who flops and backs into the postseason?
And backs into the postseason. I'm going to say South Carolina. They're going to flop tomorrow, and then they're going to end up in the tournament. And I don't know. We'll see how they do in there. I don't think they're going to be a host, but they'll make the tournament.
That's fair. That's fair. Micah, who you got? Who flops?
So by flops, do you mean like playing in this first game thing? Or
it could be losing that or being one of the top four that goes 2 and Q and backs into postseason play.
Kentucky goes 2 and Q.
Kentucky 2 and Q. I like it. That's a tough call, but it could very well happen. Monty?
Let's go with LSU.
I
don't know. I would have gone.
I mean, I will say there's nothing I know you don't want to lose this game. You don't want to put the fate in the hands of the baseball guys and the committee and all that stuff. But losing to this Georgia team, of all the first games, that is the best loss to have. I know you don't want to, but hey, quality losses is an SEC thing. So, it only makes sense for me to bring up the quality losses when I'm on an SEC show.
They'll back in and then get hot and then turn it back on.
I think it's Alabama, but my problem with Alabama is that if they lose this game, they're on the bubble, right? Like they're
That's what
probably
I
in.
was thinking of some of the teams. I was like, ooh,
But
Vanderbilt. I was like, no, they
man, like
yeah.
Vandy loses, they're on the. They may
Right.
not be seeing.
That's
They
why I
may
was
not
like,
be
Florida,
dancing.
same thing. I was like,
I understand that the argument Alabama's on the bubble, but the magic number in the SEC has always been 13, right? I'm not mistaken that, correct? It's always been 13.
Well, 38% of the
It's
teams that have won 13
14.
conference games have made the
Only
NCAA
1/3 of
tournament.
teams
Well,
that make. Yeah,
I don't know the full
teams.
numbers on this, but I know that if Alabama loses tomorrow, their RPI only drops 3 spots. That would have them in the top 20. That would be 21 is their RPI at that point. That's probably enough, in my opinion, to be one of those 38%.
They'd be one of the highest teams ever to not make the tournament without
Correct.
RPI. Yes,
Exactly. So that's why I just feel like I'm really not that worried. I know, again, you don't want to tempt fate, but some of these other teams, I think one of these SEC teams of the 5 is going to be out. Vanderbilt's way more concerned to me. Florida's way more of a concern for me. One of those teams has to lose. So I think Alabama's okay.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I think they get 10 in. I don't think that they hold them to 9. So I think that the loser of South Carolina and Alabama is in. I think it's just tight. Alex, who wins it? I know you got Kentucky. You sticking with Kentucky?
Yeah. I think their brand of baseball travels well, and I think Nick Mingione's got this team playing at an incredibly high level. He's the SEC Coach of the Year for a reason, and I think they run through this tournament.
Micah, who you got winning?
Give me A&M.
A&M. Okay, a team that has gone a little backwards into the postseason here, and now they're just going to impact it. I like it. Monty, who are you going with?
Oh, he disappeared off camera again.
Rocky Top,
Going
Tennessee.
Tennessee. You know what? I'm going the other team, Arkansas. I think that their pitching comes to life. I think that they get enough offense. I think that they've woken up the beast. I think they've found a little bit of offense. I think that this Arkansas team gets right back on that horse. They become the #1 team, and they roll all the way to Omaha.
See,
All right.
I will say I was thinking about saying Arkansas because I like their side of the bracket for them better. Yeah. I really do think that like A&M and Tennessee are going to go like. Yeah, I like Florida a lot. Florida Tennessee is going to be a really fun first one. A&M Mississippi State's going to be like that's. Maybe again, it's outside a little more ACC perspective, but I like that bottom better than the top side of the bracket.
You like the bottom better, huh?
Hey! Whoa, talking SEC here. All right.
Aren't y'all sharing a hotel room?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, and on that note, I'm gonna go find a separate room to check
I didn't
into.
think of that.
Alex and Monty and Micah and myself, thanks for joining us on this SEC preview show. Remember to tune in. Selection Monday is going to be a lot. Okay, we're going to have a lot of guest hosts on. We're going to be talking about every bracket. We're going to be breaking down all 64 teams. I'm going to be live the whole day, so you can join me all day. I promise I will shower before, so you don't have to see me in the shower during that. But I will be live all day. I know, Monty. I'm sorry. I will not have it on during the shower time, but I'll be live all day on Selection Monday. I know these guys are going to join me. We are so excited for postseason baseball. Thanks again for joining us for the SEC podcast here on Hoover. Alex, Monty, Micah, and myself. See you guys next time.